the women they want versus the women they need? You said something about them being attractive and they pick them and then they'll end up leaving them if a crisis occurs. That's kind of where you hit.
I'm going like patterns that I've seen, and I have seen in my life a lot of men choose women based off of looks, or maybe it's on a whim, or maybe it's like a summer romance that should have ended at the end of summer, and they'll make a lifelong commitment to that, and then you'll see them like slowly grow apart, or they'll keep it up because they're trying to keep up with the Joneses, but it's obvious there's no more love left in that relationship or that marriage or whatnot. But I have seen men like they'll have the choice. Like there'll be that woman that you can tell, like we've all had those friends, like you think, oh my God, this could work out. And you're like, like rooting for this group. And then he picks the girl and you're like, wait, where did she come from?
Yeah.
And then she's with him for all the wrong reasons. And you're like,
okay.
I'm still happy for you, I guess. I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
I don't want her to wreck your life. It's happening.
Yeah.
And here's the train.
Well, I think Love is Blind is like a perfect example. It was one couple where they connected on like a really good like levels, like communication wise. Like the once he saw her, he was like, okay, she's nice. But the other girl he didn't choose, that they didn't have a connection with, was way hotter than her. And he was like, he second guessed her ever since then. And he told her, I can't be with you because you're not my type. Yeah. It didn't matter about the connection. It didn't matter about the chemistry. It didn't matter about someone he needed because he wasn't attracted to her in the way that he was attracted to a woman that he's used to dating.
Right.
So attraction, I don't think men choose who they need. They choose who they want sometimes. Because that's why some men, when they're like, man, I should have chose that other girl. But, they get into situations like that. But when you a grown man, you know what you want. When you reach that level of like, I don't care. I know what I'm looking for. I'll cut you off. Yeah. I'll cut this person off. I don't care how you look. Right. That's when, but it takes a while for a man to reach that point.
And for a man to know what he needs. And then like, I feel like it's important, like if he knows where he's going in life and seeing, like we kind of back to our prior conversation, just that it's really important that they know their purpose. They know the value. And then you pick somebody that values you too. And compliments that. I think that's very important. But again, I can't speak for men. I can't speak for their choices. But I have seen some obvious, and I feel like that happens when you get a little bit older. You get a little bit of wisdom. And I've had people always say like older people, sometimes you see them kind of try to play matchmaker. Yeah. Sometimes they see stuff that we don't see, and they feel like see this beautiful match. And hindsight, when you grow up, you're like, man, that person was great. Why didn't I see what they saw? Everybody was like, kind of encouraging, like, oh, you guys are great together. You're like, well, we're just kind of checking things out. Yeah. And later on, you're like, man, the grass was not greener. Yeah. That person was perfect for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's always that grass is greener mindset that messes both sex.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think women tend to see men and they think the way we think. I don't think most men, let me not say all men. I don't think most men need a woman. I think the only woman they need is their mother. And if they want you, they're going to marry you. But I don't think men ever think I needed her.
Unless that man don't like his mom.
So I think women...
I don't know.
A lot of men don't like their mothers.
I'm going to have to push back on that.
No. That's because we think. That's what we think. We even expect them to communicate like we do. Well, you should have known without talking. Oh, he should have known without us saying. I don't think they say, I needed her. I want her.
So like...
Men want what they want.
I've seen guys make posts like, and they'll have like a big booty, pretty girl. And they'll make posts like, when you married her just for her looks and she can't cook. It's like, she can't clean. She doesn't.
They don't care.
She doesn't take. Yeah, but I think it wears on you after
It wears
a while.
on them after a while, but they don't care. They'll be like, oh, my wife can't cook. It's fine. My mom's going to teach her.
But so a good
never happens.
So does a good woman. Wears on them after a while. That's why he picks what he wants. It's not like you're a good girl and she's a bad girl. He's going to love you more. That's not how men operate. I don't think. I could be wrong, guys.
Yeah. I know. I almost want y'all to chime in. Gentlemen. I almost want to flip this question and do it from a female perspective. Because
we're a lot of brothers. They choose what they want.
Yeah.
I thought he needed his wife. What the hell are you doing with her? But that's not.
That is true. Because you see some men that's like, why? You could have had something with somebody else and they're like, I'm like, this lady is crazy, but they love her.
Yeah,
crazy
they love that
ass.
crazy.
They do.
They love that crazy.
I mean,
That's true. Because you see a man that's dealing with a toxic woman, they rather deal with that toxic woman because that's what they want. They don't want the quote unquote good girl. They want what they want. And women don't want to accept
because
that
I've seen
our ego.
I've seen men.
That's good girl, bad girl.
I know, not even good girl. I've seen men like pick the girls like, oh, she's cute and she's bubbly and she's fun and I love her, right? And then she can't balance a checkbook and she helped him go bankrupt and
He don't care.
She swiped the card too many times and was like, oh, I didn't know there were no funds in there, or she leaves the kids because she wants to go party, but she's pretty. It's like,
I actually have an example of that. There's a housewife, God forbid that I doubt they're watching, but she's a Russian lady. She's very beautiful, very fit, very, she got all this, and her husband, they live in a very nice house. They have a kid together. She treats him like crap. She goes out and party.
Oh man.
She doesn't like spending time with him. She just likes to party and go out with her friends.
God.
And he's sobbed about my wife, but he loves that woman. He ain't going nowhere.
That poor guy.
Because that's what he wants.
Yeah.
He's not gonna say, you know what, I want you, but what I need is a Molly Mac butter. So let me go find her. It's not happening.
He could because he has the income and he's well put together, but
I think they're precise. But that's just from me growing up with brothers and uncles.
So you don't think men regret the woman they choose? Ever?
They do regret it, but they
may regret dogging you out.
Look. He's
I know. I really want the guys to chime in.
Yeah. Okay. So
are we just uttering like
production? What do you? I mean,
production.
Yeah, you guys chime in.
I really kind of need like a man's perspective.
It's go time. Going on, family? Welcome to King Talk. Let me go ahead and introduce the crew. We got Trigger Mike, Chicago Rilla, Humble Dad, Sir Hale, Hick in the Basement, Louise, Sweeney, Sean Antonio, Big Clout Jones, and me myself, and Lapeef JR. Welcome to Lapeef. Welcome to King Talk and Lapeef Network. What's going on, family? What's going on? How y'all doing?
What's up, homie?
What's going on?
What up? What up? What up?
What up, fam?
What's good, fellas?
It's good to see you guys. Good to see you guys. Everybody's here in attendance, so that's always a good thing, man. We're going to go ahead and get this show started, but before we do, shout out to the sponsor, Teach, handling uncomplicated skincare for men, 30% off along with a free gift. That link is in the description. If you guys haven't already, make sure you hit the like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Shout out to all my green gang that's in the chat. Sugar Curl Salon, it's in the chat. We got Jolie. Shout out to you. What's we got in here? Dale Matthews. If you want to become part of the green gang, just click that link that's pinned to the top of the chat and go green. You guys seen the clip. We're going to go ahead and get to the meat of the conversation. Do men choose the women they want versus the woman they need? That was a clip from Queen Talk, led by Kelly herself. Shout out to Queen Sheba B. Taylor, Iris Bloom, and Kelly herself. So that was a great clip. And they wanted to ask the gentleman, King Talk, their thoughts about it. So we're going to go ahead and dive into it. Do men choose the woman they want versus the woman they need? I'm going to go ahead and start off with Louise first. What are your thoughts about it, sir?
I think that at first, I think it depends on what type of age, and maturity this man is at. I think that most men do pick the women that they want before they pick the women that they need. And I think that just comes as a byproduct of maturity, age, and obviously wisdom. And obviously kind of navigating. But I think for the most majority of men out there who haven't really reached their pinnacle of success or haven't reached it, they're probably most likely picking the woman that they need. the woman that they need that will align with them and build. I think it's a smaller segment of men who are picking the women that they want because they have the access and they are in a certain stage of their life. You know, I think that I think there's two different categories. I don't think they're all lumped in one. I think men, choose at first the woman that they want, but some kind of backtrack regarding because they realize they don't fit well into their program or in their life, and as a byproduct, they end up kind of going back to the woman that they really truly needed in the first place. So, how are you?
All right, Sir Harold, what are your thoughts about it, sir? Do men choose the woman they want versus the woman they need?
It's a really good question. So, I think a couple of different things. One, I think men should pick the woman that they want. I think if a man picks a woman based off of his need of her, he becomes less attractive to her, and that ultimately hurts the relationship. So, a man's job is to find a woman that he wants, that he desires, that he can come home to, particularly if his aim is to be monogamous. The woman has to be the apple of his eye so that he doesn't go around cheating. Right. And then from that want, he develops a relationship and she shows her value to him. And based off of that value she shows, he begins to rely on her. And then that need is developed. So initially it should be want, and then it morphs into need later on.
That's interesting. I'm gonna go ahead and go to you, Sean Antonio. What are your thoughts about it, sir? You're on mute, just so you know. Yeah, if you got a phone call, just come back out and come back in. And probably, all right. Cloud Jones, what about you, sir?
I mostly agree with what Luis and Sir Hill both said. I think that it really depends on the stage you're at in life and what your options are, what's available to you, which will definitely determine whether you're choosing what you want and what you need. But I also agree with Sir Hill saying that you should kind of go for what you want. And I don't think that what you want always has to be something that doesn't align with what you need. Like, I think that if you're in the right space in your life, you're going to want what aligns with your purpose and what aligns with your goals in life. So yeah, I definitely think it varies based off of the stage you're in. I think a younger man who may have less options in certain ways, he's going to choose what he wants as soon as it comes along. But usually that doesn't work out. And then with wisdom and age and understanding, you start seeking out what's going to align with your goals and your program. So yeah.
Okay. Sean Antonio, let's come back to you.
All right. I love everything that they just said. The only thing, right? I agree that should be the answer, but I think that we are the outliers. I think that most guys don't have the wherewithal to think like what you guys just said. They don't care. They don't give a damn. They just get what they want. They get what they can get. They never progress to the level that you all just spoke about. So they end up with what they want, and they can even convince themselves that that's what they need. So I don't think most guys get what they need.
Go ahead, Trigger Mike. Like you wanted to hop in there.
Oh yeah. Do men choose the women they want versus the women they need? I think this is more of a story about the immature man versus the mature man. And age is no guarantee of maturity. So I'm not talking about a matter of age. What I'm really talking about is somebody's progression through life, right? Since in this particular time, this day and age, we've scrapped the courtship process. So now we're on the dating process. And unfortunately, somebody's going to have to be practiced. So men mature through practice. You got to get your heart broken. You got to go through those hard relationships to understand what you need. The irony in the situation is that when you're immature, you don't really know what you want. You're subject to fall for your superficial desires. Oh, she got a big ass. Oh, she got some big ass tits. That's how men talk when they are immature. The irony in that is that as you mature, everything you need in a woman, you need her to be in a wife, what you aspire her to be for your children, and taking care of the homestead, it becomes what you want. She has all your needs, but she's more attractive because of her stability, her elegance, everything that you looked over in the past as you become a mature man. A woman that fulfills your needs becomes what you genuinely want. So unfortunately, what we're seeing in today's society is too many men are jumping the gun while they're immature, giving, falling victim to cuffing a woman due to their superficial desires, which are their wants, and then complaining about that woman later. So that when you are a mature man, the woman that fulfills all of those, boxes of a mature woman, that actually becomes what you want. You will rejoice in that choice 1,000 times over. But if you choose a woman that you want, so to speak, while you are immature, you will live to regret it.
Okay. Humble Dad, what are your thoughts about it, sir?
I'm pondering. I think it's a dope question for sure. What comes to mind is that the initial point would have to be a want, because approaching a woman, you're approaching her because of what it is that you physically are attracted to, and you want her based on her physical attributes. Not until you are able to converse with her and also have an understanding of what it is that you even need as a man, will you be able to say, well, I need her, right? So to do the verses, it's always going to be the want over the need, because you're not going to be able to know that you need her before you want her. And I'll keep it as that.
I like that. Chicago Gorilla, what are your thoughts about it, sir?
Man, the brothers, the brothers have already waxed poetic over it. And I agree with a lot of what they said. But I think, speaking from a general perspective, most males choose the woman they want. The grown man chooses the woman that he needs, right? So I do agree that it's in layers and stages. When you're a young man, you're thinking about the aesthetics, you're thinking about how she looks. And then let me pre-qualify this too. We all get who we qualify for. We all get who we qualify for. So even when you're choosing want versus need, you're choosing from the batch of women that you qualify for, right? And then most times, especially as a young man, you don't know yourself. You don't know your purpose. You're not planning your work. You're not working your plan. Most people, and again, to what Trigger Mike said, we scrapped the courting process. If courting was still an intricate part of relationship building and pair bonding and mating, we would see more couples and families being built based on need. Most people today are not thinking about that. Most men are choosing based on who they qualify for. Most men are choosing based on who they qualify for. And then you know what we do? We convince ourselves we can make it work. I'll make it work. That's just my initial thoughts, bro.
All right, Brother Hink, what are your thoughts about it? Do men choose the woman they want versus the woman they need?
Yeah, I agree with, like you said, a lot of guys said, and I really agree with Mike's younger us version of us. Yeah, we probably all went with the needs. I mean, with the wants. I'm sorry, went with the wants first because, like you said, we love the physical attraction of the woman. It's not till later on, probably down the road in a relationship, you start to realize what you need, and that woman you wanted may not have what you really need. So now you have to make some adjustments. Do you want to continue to build with this woman? Is this woman the right woman that you want to? Can she turn into the woman that you need? Can you morph her into that? I don't know. That's up to that man. If she can see that, if he can see that in her. But well, I want to ask you a question. You don't believe in a man can outkick his coverage? You know what I mean when I say that?
That's a good question.
Well,
I think you might want to elaborate.
I was blessed. Okay. Getting a woman you really don't qualify for, but somehow she found something in you, even though you may not been where you was today or supposed to be, but she's way more prettier than you would normally get, and you like, damn, how did he get her? You know what I'm saying? So I believe it because it happened to me. Young Hink, man, struggling, a college student, didn't have shit. You know what I'm saying? But I was able to get these women who just already got their bachelors, working on their masters. Yeah, I shouldn't have been getting those women because I didn't qualify for one for real. I didn't have the money, no income. I was just a football player just trying to make it. You know what I'm saying? But somehow I got these these type women, and one of them ended up being my daughter's mother. You know, now of course we didn't get married, unfortunately, but you know, it is what it is. But yeah, I believe in that out kicking your coverage. So I do agree. Some people get what they qualify for, but some people also get lucky and out kick their coverage too, though.
I did want to ask a follow-up question because you guys spoke about the woman that you need. Is that need consistent, like with every woman that you date, or has it been consistent, or did it change? Woman.
I would say it's absolutely consistent. Absolutely consistent. The issue is that, you know, in this community specifically, too many men have not seen what it is, what they need. And unfortunately, not even from their own mother. They have not seen that woman serve a man to know that that's what they needed in their life. In fact, they were basically told that a woman was the opposite of these things. One of the most unfortunate things that I can say that I've seen is a man bring a woman he chose based off want around real wives, and watch I've never seen a man look more uncomfortable than when he has, I don't want to say the dumbest woman in the room, but you know what I mean, the bimbo in every kind of way. I've never seen a man look more uncomfortable, and I think that is a depiction of what that can look like when you finally find a woman that is just elegant, purely feminine, understands her role, and wants to serve in a relationship. It does something to a man's nature to know that is exactly what I'm missing in my life. It's actually one of the things we talk about a lot, and I heard somebody say purpose. We have to realize that even finding the right woman could be a part of your purpose. She was built to help you with that. So some women, and I just know certain women that I've had in my life giving me clues that maybe this was marriage material and I ruined it. These women always spoke to my purpose. Always. And no matter what kind of game I thought I was spitting or anything like that, I would just kind of be beside myself like, damn. She was so deep that it was intimidating to me because I wasn't ready for it at the time, right? But yeah, once a man really understands a woman's grace, her femininity, her elegance, everything that make women and their gender unique, those needs are consistent, and all men will. You basically fall for it. That's how you fall for a woman. My mic is muted.
Sweeney hasn't went.
I'm sorry about that, Sweeney. You're sitting low key, fade into the black man. Do men choose the woman they want versus the woman they need?
I'm gonna kind of piggyback on a lot of the different things that all the fellas have already said. I'm gonna kind of start with I believe Sean said this. Rilla said this. Men tend to pick from the pool that they already qualify for. So I'm gonna start there. Most men don't have very many choices to even choose from to begin with. So, you know what I mean? And I think no matter the age, because I know a lot of y'all were saying, oh, it depends on how age he is. No matter the age, the man's always going to pick the woman that he wants. No matter the age. And the reality is that these men over time tend to if you pick the woman and she rocks with you, you tend to start to mold her into the type of woman that you need. You know what I mean? So over time, no matter the age, no matter the group, no matter the timing or whatever, if y'all been together for some years, somehow, some way, she starts to become the woman that you need her to be, unless she's adamant on not being the woman that you need. And at that point, y'all arguing, fighting, doing all this other shit, and then it's the end of the relationship. But if we're talking about relationships that tend to stand the test of time, most of the time these dudes pick the woman that they qualify for and the woman that they want. And over time, she becomes the woman that he needs because she has to learn him. So it doesn't matter what kind of woman she is, she's still gonna have to learn who he is, because what works for Rilla don't work for me. What works for Humble Dad don't work for Rilla. What works for Sir Hill don't work for, you know what I mean, Lapeef. So I think that's the reality of it all. I think majority of men pick the women that they want, and either that woman at some point starts to, either he's able to mold her into the type of woman that he needs her to be, whether that's sex, whether that's the conversation he needs, whether that's the type of business partner he needs, whether that means that the type of mother that he needs her to be. I think that's where that comes into play.
I guess my question would be, kind of piggybacking off of what you're saying, Sweeney. On these panels, we always talk about what men want, and it always seems to be the same thing, right? And Shannon usually talks about fit, feminine, friendly, fun, and faithful, right? Really has another one that he goes by, right? And so they all seem to be around the same thing, and nobody ever says, no, that's not what it is that I want, right? So I would ask, is the difference in what it is in those 5 things just the personality of the woman? Or is there one of those 5 that is just, that's not what's on my list? I would say that most men want the exact same thing, just in a different woman.
To respond to that, I would say that a lot of the things that we talk about on this panel is very black and white. It sounds great when we're having this conversation, right? But in reality, a lot of us we find certain things like we'll say those 5 things, right? In a perfect world, we would get all 5. But in reality, we see the woman, we're like, okay, so she's not as feminine as I think she would, but she does have a nice body and she's pretty cool to me. Or she's not the greatest cook on the planet. We always make concessions because, you know what I mean? So I think in a perfect world, we would have that. But I don't think, and all of us want it, but every man has a different degree of a level of what he's willing to put up with and what he's willing to tolerate. So she may not be as feminine as the next woman, but there's other areas that you like, okay, I can rock with this. You know what I mean? How many times do we know dudes that have the Marcus and from what's the name of that movie? Why Did I Get Married or something like that? And somehow you sitting over here like, how the hell did this dude keep dealing with her and her attitude? And somehow, some way, it just works for them.
Bro, this is the thing, right? Humble dad. This is the thing, right? I hate those talking points. I hate YouTube talking points. I hope everybody that uses them, that their microphones blow up, right? Because at the end of the day, bro, this is the thing. If you ain't what I consider to be bad, if you ain't what I consider to be pretty, I don't give a shit if you fit feminine and none of that. So first off, you have to meet my beauty standards in order for me to even care about any of that shit. I don't care if you're cooperative, if I don't think you're attractive. And if we're all being honest, then we will all say that relative to whatever you consider to be attractive. If she ain't that, bro, none of that other shit matters. So I hate these goofy talking points that they use. Fit, feminine, friend. Bro, if she ain't bad, what I consider bad, I don't care about none of that.
You know what? You know what I'll say to that?
Let me just add real quick, okay. And then you can go. But that kind of just goes to what I'm saying, that most men have the same want. And that's what you just said. We got to be attracted to that woman. That's the first thing. Go ahead, Trey.
Yeah, well, I've heard that point before, but I think that is just baked into the cake because remember, we're not women. Women can love the beast. They can find something in a beastly guy and find something cute about him. Remember, Beyonce is married to Jay-Z, first off. All right. Aside from the money. Now, with men, it's baked into the cake. We don't approach unless we are attracted in that way. So I think it's already understood because we don't say this because it sounds creepy as hell. But the first feeling you get about a woman that, you know, either you see it on sight or she's broken through is arousal. We don't talk about that much.
Does she pass the boner test?
Exactly. It is arousal.
See, I think we need to say it, bro. We need to say it.
Yo, when I was in college and, you know, some girls would walk in late on purpose, you know what I mean? And you like, good God. That's the first feeling you feel. So it's baked into the cake for us. We won't approach unless we're doing that mental undress, you know, couldn't even concentrate when she walk into class. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
But you know what, Mike? I think it's baked in, but I think it needs to be said because I think we assume that it's understood, but I never hear it said. At the end of the day, if even for us, if a woman says she wants a man that's over 6 feet, if a man is 5'4" and he has all these other qualities, okay, yeah, you know, she'll make some concessions, whatever. But for us, bro, I'm not walking across the room or going across the bar to meet a woman who does not pass the visual test. I think it has to be said and then we can say the subtext is all these other things.
You know, it's crazy. It's interesting that you mentioned the height thing, Sean, because I think in the same way that it's kind of understood that a woman has to pass the look test to even get to the fit, feminine, and friendly part. I think also I don't think very many women know what 6 feet look like. In all seriousness, I don't think very many women. I've had girls tell me that I was 6 feet tall, and I'm like, no, I'm only 5'10".
What?
They walk around with tape measures.
Like
they don't.
Women only know status symbols. They have no actual metrics for measurement. Like when it comes to height, when it comes to money, they literally just know 6 figures, but they don't actually know like what 100,000, 200,000, 50,000, 40,000 spends. Like they have no clue.
Let me get this piece in here really quickly. So we just got on talking moments ago, and I think Humble Dad brought this up about, we get Chicago Rilla. We get what we qualify for. I think that's true, but here's the caveat. I don't think most men understand what they qualify for. I don't think so. You think about this. Most women will put on a bunch of hair, a bunch of makeup, some real tight clothes, and she's optimizing herself to see what she can pull. Most men never optimize themselves to see what they can really attract. And so I think a lot of men, they underestimate themselves because they just accept what their immediate surroundings are telling them that they are worth. And if a man just gets into there's some simple things. If you get into the gym, you don't have to be the swollest dude. Just be in some shape. Get you, work on your back, work on your shoulders, work on your legs, and you're going to be just fine. Keep your hair cut. Brush your teeth, keep on some cologne, and know how to have a conversation. Like those things alone will amplify what your immediate pool is. And so I think a lot of men who think that they're ugly or that they're unattractive or short, I think so many men underestimate themselves and they never give themselves an opportunity to get the type of woman that they actually want. And so what they do is whatever's in their circle, they force themselves to want that. So you ever think about this? So you ever think about this? So you live in a small neighborhood, right? And it's the finest girl in that neighborhood. Like, she is that chick in that neighborhood. And as long as you're in the neighborhood, she is the finest girl. And then go to LA. And then suddenly the girl who's in your neighborhood, you're like, what this girl terrible. What was I even thinking? Right? So I think that's what so many men do. We raise our level of desire based off of what's around us. And it's only until a man optimizes himself and he's exposed to more that he realizes that he can have better. I'll end with this. A lot of men can have any woman that they want. Most men just lack the confidence and the skills it takes to go pull her.
And you know what, Sir Hill, and it's tricked out that you said that because in a way you're kind of right. I think I've always said this: the average man has the potential to be a 8, 9, or 10 any day of the week because we have that ability to increase not only how much we make, but all you do if you go and get a decent haircut, get your teeth fixed, put on some decent cologne, and know how to dress well. So all of a sudden that's 4 or 5 becomes a 10. But I think men are very knowledgeable on what they qualify for in that moment. Now, what you said, can they qualify for better? Absolutely. If they did those things that you mentioned. But men have a clear understanding of where they at because we are numbers. We play by the numbers. We will shoot at anything, but we can base off of all the knows we done got that, okay, man, I couldn't get nothing that looked like Beyonce, but I was able to get an old girl that looked like, Keisha from down the way. So that's how they kind of operate. They set themselves up in that way. Like, all right, well, I guess this is where I'm at until, like you said, one day they naturally progress into a better man or somebody like you come along and like, hey, look, man, now you ain't got to deal with Keisha from down the way. You've been sitting here complaining about it. You talking about how you tired of the women that you're dealing with, but you ain't hit the gym. You ain't do this. And then eventually you're like, okay, all right, I see what you're saying. So he starts putting it into practice and then he becomes that, that man that can attract a lot of women, more women. But I think men are very knowledgeable on what they qualify for because you have to go out there and get denied. Whereas go ahead, Rilla. I see you wanted to.
I was just gonna say real quick, and I hear you, Sir Hale. I'm gonna still stand on that because not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying the reason why I say we all get who we qualify for is because that's on you to figure out who you qualify for. That's on you as the man. The truth of the matter is, so in my generation, geez, I'm sounding older and older, man. Man, we used to go to the mall, man. We used to go to the mall. We used to go to the plaza. We used to go to the show.
Sir.
We used to try and figure out, man, who got the most numbers in the day. What that means? Shooting your shot. That meant you had to go out there, risk it all. Well, risk public embarrassment at best. But you had to, I know it's not a real word, but you had to conversate with a female. And if you got rejected, you got rejected. Yeah, you had to conversate with a female, and if you got rejected, you got rejected. This is why we see ugly dudes with pretty women, and you be like, man, how'd he get her? Because he's willing to go out there and shoot his shot. He got who he qualified for, and I know it's layers to that too, but I do want the young bloods to understand that, man. You got to have some depth to yourself. You definitely, I hear you, sir. You're 1000% right. Sweeney was saying it too, man. Get your tail in the gym, keep your health up. You know what I'm saying? Keep your hygiene correct. You know what I'm saying? Know how to dress. I'm a child of hip hop, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, you got to be able to dress like a grown man, right? You got to be able to dress that way too. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, really to your point. So I don't agree that men get what they qualify for. Men get who they can afford. Women get who they qualify for. So if you typically see a man with a woman, he's not looking, it's not the looks factor initially. He's thinking that this woman going to be high maintenance, it's going to be other dudes trying to, do I have enough stuff, whatever that stuff is, to keep this woman's attention? So a man thinks about this long term. And when you get from Illinois, from Chicago, we used to talk about the red bone. For most part, dudes would be like, this red bone she's gonna be expensive, she's gonna be a headache. And he's thinking about, can I afford her emotionally? Can I afford her monetarily? Can I afford her in terms of my looks? Can I afford her? Right? So men think about affordability. Can I keep up the lifestyle that this woman wants? Women get who they qualify for. And when I say that, I mean that the way that we measure what we qualify for is very different. Like a woman is looking at what a man has. A man initially is looking at what a woman looks like and then how she adds to his life. Right. So, and I'll say this, the reason this is such a big thing, because think about a woman who's 20, what she qualifies for at 40 are very, very different things. While a man's currency goes up. So even though he wasn't getting very good options at 20, what he can afford goes up. And I think this is an important distinction to make. So women get who they qualify for, and then men get who they can afford.
Sir, hell, I gotta disagree with you, bro.
Sure.
I think what you're saying, once again, it applies to us. I think the majority of men, a lot of them, they used to be that guy and when they were younger. Now they ain't that guy, and they don't even realize they're not that guy no more. So in a lot of cases, they qualify for less than they qualified for previously. You know what I'm saying? Because they hadn't done everything that you said. That was great points, leveled up. I agree with you on us, but I think a lot of guys that won't apply to. But for those guys, those of us who have leveled up, that have done everything that you said we should do, get in the gym and all those things, I absolutely agree with you. I just think that there are a lot of guys that will never do that. But I agree with you for us, though.
Yeah, Sean, I was going to say that there's a lot of dudes that peaked in high school. I had a cousin like that. Like, man, he used to bag the baddest chicks in high school, right? And next thing you know, he at the age of 30, he bagging, you know what I mean, big white women.
That's interesting. That's interesting. That's what game actually is. Can you bag? Dudes were like that in high school because you bragged about bagging women that didn't know anything, that didn't know any better. Can you bag a woman with some intelligence? Can you bag a woman on the same level as you? That's always been my measurement. Just saying.
Yeah, I mean, like there goes that saying, like, damn, homie, in high school you was the
man, homie. What the fuck happened to you?
That's generally men who are relied on their looks and athleticism. And I think that's it's a gift and it's a curse, because when you get that early, you don't got to work for it. Men who don't have that, we have to build strengths in other areas. And that's where when those men peak, a lot of the average men continue to grow because we had nothing to rely on. So we had to build ourselves. So I think it's the very same thing. It's about, even if that dude, if he took himself and he stayed consistent. I give you an example. So LeBron James, arguably the greatest basketball player that this planet has ever seen. But we can discuss this at a later date. But if you think about what he's done, and one of the things that he's respected for is not just his, immaculate ability to score the ball over his illustrious career. What he has done is he has kept himself healthy for 20 years. Just think about that. Think about if men were that disciplined, where we didn't rely on our talent in our youth, but we had the discipline to sustain that greatness over time. Like, most men don't do that. We don't have the discipline to work hard and to strive to get better. We peak at the baddies we get. And once you get used to those baddies, you stop growing. It's the same thing that happens with pretty women. Most pretty women, she stops at the apex of the attention. Her emotional development stops when she gets the most attention, because there's nothing else required of her. And I think men have to avoid that. You have to keep on pushing yourself. You got great, get greater. You leveled up, level up again, and don't get comfortable. And I think when men keep on doing that, the pool of options don't go dry. But to Sean's point, I agree with what you said. A lot of men, they peak, but they peak because they stopped and they relied on athleticism and looks, and they stopped developing in those other critical areas.
And then
So
there's a component of like having a certain other men around you who are also self-developing, right? Who might not be as tall as you, who might not be as athletic, but you see them working. You see them putting in that work in that gym. You see them, hustling, getting 2 or 3 other jobs, right? You see them building and growing in other areas of their life. If that man, who obviously was given all those gifts right up front, and doesn't come to the realization that he still has to keep competing and still keep leveling up, he's gonna fall behind on the wayside. And unfortunately, some people, whether it's due to ego or just don't have the foresight to see it, don't really align with other people to push them, to hold them accountable, and to want to see them grow as well. And sort of they become an island by themselves.
I know we talk about like a lot of us old heads up here. What about the young cat? What does the young cat need to do then? That's what I'm thinking about right now, because us old heads, we know what it's all about. What we're looking for, what we need to do. But how do we reach them young men who need to hear this same message, but they still going off the physical aspects on a regular basis? And we all understand. We still kind of do it ourselves, but we also we'd also know to look more in depth at the woman. So how can we train and teach them?
I'll tell you what I do as a person who runs community programs. I help them to level up. I literally help them become the best version of themselves. And I hate that term, but literally that's what I do. Because if I'm in a hood, a number of us are from Chicago. If I'm from, 61st and King Drive, bro, I may not go outside of a certain radius. I may not. So my perspective is very, very limited. If I don't have clout, you know what I'm saying, to take me somewhere, to take me downtown. Believe it or not, there are people who may be in their 20s who don't go downtown. They're not going to no suburbs. They don't know nothing but the block. So the thing is, we have to become the person who can touch them on the shoulders and take them in a different direction. And then they can literally be able to see our example. Then they can even get to the point where they have something to lose. Then they can get to the point where they say, damn, this chick that was a 9 on the block, that ain't nothing. This chick over here, hold on. Okay, yeah. This is what I'm aspiring to. We have to give them something else to aspire to, not with words, but with a personal connection, rapport building, and then walking them in a different direction from where they'd go if we weren't around.
Sean.
So I know, like, when I talk to my son, and then I share with my son, and my son's got a little girlfriend now, but I told him, I said, dude, you might want to go ahead and break up with her. Because when you go to college, you playing ball in college, these women are different. They talk different. They build different. They act like they do different things. So, is she going to be there when you get through college? Who knows? Maybe y'all can rekindle. But you might want to go ahead before you break her heart. Because, again, you're going to see these built differently type women. How you going to respond to her? Are you still gonna be faithful to your girl, or what we gonna do? But I teach him that now. I said, dude, again, you got to know what your goal is. Don't focus on these chicks. They're gonna be there. Let that basketball be your lady, and them books be your side chick.
You know what though? You know what though? I find it interesting because it's crazy how we have to leave the block to find it. Like you should, because our communities are so jacked up now in those areas that our young men have to leave the block and go elsewhere to find a good woman or to find something, because it didn't used to be that way. You used to find your girlfriend from down the street. She was literally on your block. That was your girlfriend who became your wife at one point. It's the same thing with the passport bro movement. Now you got men who literally have to leave the country to find a good woman, and it should have never been that way. So I'm with Hank where you ask, like, it's not even how do you fix the young man or how you help the young man. It's how we help the young people, period, to reignite something that used to be that we used to like. I shouldn't have to go all the way to the west side of Chicago and I live on the south side to find a good woman. Because
right,
we
you
already
definitely ain't gonna find one on the west side.
We outside.
Yeah, but Sweeney, you talking about an era where people didn't have access to that other side. Like where you walk to, like the where you could travel to was where you would find essentially your mate. But we're in a generation now. People got social media. A girl who lives in LA could be talking to a dude that lives in Russia. You know what I mean? Like it's a whole nother world we live in. The landscape is just way bigger because of the internet and social media, and that changes the options. And so yeah, a dude's not gonna pick the girl down the street because I forget which one you guys said it earlier, but girl from down the street isn't around the way baddie. Now he could see Shorty in LA with the BBL and all of that stuff, and now he's like, nah, I'm trying to go to Miami. It's lit in Miami. That's where the baddies are. I'm trying to go to Houston. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, why would I settle for the local girls when I know I could just hit one of these spring breaks or hit one of these events and go hit the Freaknik. You know what I'm saying? And it's gonna be lit.
I would say that's the illusion. I think the internet gives us the illusion of options because we think you have access to them. Just because you can message that girl and shoot it, like the difference between the internet, the difference between Instagram and you know what I mean, TikTok and you know what I mean, all of this and TV is the fact that you can directly message someone. And just because you can directly message that person doesn't mean that you actually have access to them. So we've always had the view of the world and seen bad or women. We've been knowing about California Fine for a long time. This ain't nothing new. It's just that
but there's people who are actually successful with these platforms. Like there's people who like slide in DMs in LA, and then next thing you know, they're flying Shorty out. So
yeah, but it's not the story of majority of people.
That's not the story for most men.
Yeah, they successful with.
That's on. Look at online dating. Look at online dating. Like online dating is successful for a lot of men.
I think y'all maybe. I think he's onto something, and we may be broadening it a little bit too much. We may be talking about from Chicago to LA, but maybe it's me from being from Morgan Park. That may mean I get a chick from Kenwood that I never would have met otherwise.
Right.
You know, a chick across town. So that does have merit, and it's literally you just flick your thumb. You flick your thumb, and it's a new bad chick that you would have never seen otherwise.
Well, here's the common denominator that's missing and all that, because Hank was actually hitting on it when he was talking about how he's giving his son game. The absence of, my opinion, the common denominator really is around the absence, because whether I meet a chick from Kenwood, Whitney Young, Academy of I don't even know if Academy of Our Lady is still open, but you know what I'm saying, whether I meet that chick or not, what's the game and instruction for how I choose her? And that's what Hank was saying. Hank, you actually was answering your own question when you was talking about how you give the game to your son, because I think when you give the game to him, you're also thinking lineage, and that's what's missing. The reason why you would marry the girl from down the block or whatever is because y'all families knew each other. You know what I'm saying? Y'all grew up together, y'all played together, then y'all go together. Next thing, like I got a shorty at my job right now, 19 years old, about to get married. 19. And I'm asking her questions like all the time. I'm asking her questions. Their families are involved in what's going on with that. And we don't have that. Our women are left, or our young girls are left to pick for themselves. And then back to the premise of this question, you know, do men choose the woman they want or the woman that they need at that age. You don't know. You don't know what you need. You know what you want. The Lord is my shepherd. He knows what I want, right? And so for me, the common denominator is really just having that masculine male presence and influence in our communities to get the young men. I think it's just important to build better men. I just think go ahead.
To add to what Rilla said, so I think it's very simple how you get young men. You got to be successful at something. So I think one of the things that just for me personally, my father died when I was 5 years old, so he passed away. But I had an older brother who stepped in, and I saw him as a person of success. He was cutting hair since he was like 14 years old. He got his money up. He, of course, he worked. He had a booth at somebody else's shop. Ended up managing the shop, got his own building, now got his own shop, now he's got his own building, right? Got real estate. So I think the biggest way for men to really impact the youth is you go and be successful at something. No young boy wants to aspire to be like a broke, unhappy man. And I don't mean you have to have a whole lot of money, but I mean you gotta carry yourself well. It was little things that my brother did. Like he always told me, if you go out, make sure your belt matches your shoes. Or if you're gonna wear a watch, here's the watch you don't wear. Like don't go buy the cheap watch with all the big diamonds in it that it look like you drawn for a 10. To get you something moderate that fits you, right? If you're going to wear clothes, make sure the clothes fit your body, right? And then when I looked at his life, whatever car he was driving, he kept that car shining. It didn't matter what it was. Back then he had a Cavalier, like he had back with a red Cavalier with tinted windows. He kept that mug shined up.
I keep it clean though.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's what young men are needing. Be successful at something. Whatever you choose to do, you don't have to make a whole lot of money, but you do have to drive impact. And I think that part of the reason why a lot of young men are not listening to older men is because a lot of men call themselves teaching us something. But when I look at your life, you're not happy with your wife. You're not happy with your life. You're not happy with your health. You're not happy with your career choices. You are giving me nuggets of wisdom, telling me what to avoid, but I don't need to know just what not to do. Show me the ropes so I don't waste time. So I encourage every man, get successful at something, whatever the thing is. If you're a musician, become the most dynamic musician. If you know about music and poetry and art, be proficient at explaining those things. Be interesting. And I think that's what young men gravitate to, because they're looking at somebody who's an expert at something, and it makes them aspire to be great at something. So be successful at what you do and have something going for yourself. That's how you get young men.
I want to add.
It's funny you said that, man, because I had some of my son's teammates come over to the house, man, and they was talking about, man, Mr. Hink, you got it made. You can have all type of women over here and party and all that. And I'll be like, man, look here, it sounds good, and it probably would be nice when I was younger in this big old house all by myself. Yeah. I said, but it's not the same, man. I said, I'm looking for a wife, young blood. I'm gonna have me another Mrs. Hink real soon. And I teach them that, because that's another thing about these young cats. Like you said, sir, they don't see the positivity in marriage, and when they see it just the opposite. They don't see the positive about it. They see the negative. They see all the bad stuff. They see their parents, how they fighting and getting into it, doing exchange of visitation. You know what I'm saying? They see them going to court over custody. They see them going to court over child support, or complaining about who's going to keep the kids for this holiday or that holiday. You know what I'm saying? So they don't always see the positive. And that's why I try to teach them, even me as a single man who's looking to get out there and be married again, but I still want to show them, hey, look, marriage is a beautiful thing, man, as long as you find that right woman. So
that's the fact, sir. Can I get this quick story real quick? Just what Hink said. So this is a real thing. So I used to intern for this church. I was like a youth minister at a church. I was like 18 years old, and these older, I don't want to put race into it, but I'll just say these older men were telling me, like, yeah, you'll be nothing without your wife. Nothing without your wife. I mean, you're not gonna be nothing. Give her whatever she wants. You're not gonna be nothing without your wife. You may not have sex as much as you want to, but whenever she gives it to you, just, take it, even if she doesn't want to, just wait for her. And he was so sad, and he was tired looking. I'm like, I say absolutely, sir. I never talk with that man again. But here's what it taught me. Most men teach what they've experienced. They don't teach what they know, right? And if a man doesn't experience happiness and joy and love, he's going to give you bitterness. It's the equivalent of bitter mothers training their daughters about how bad men are, because that's their experience. They don't know anything better. And so I say that to say it's important for men to go out, to be great, to go find out what happiness is outside of a woman, to find fulfillment outside of her. And then once you have some of that, bring her into your orbit, bring her into your world, and then go ahead and start teaching young men. Because I think what's happening is we have a generation of bitter men, of men who didn't accomplish their dreams, women who never found happiness, quote unquote, teaching the young generation, and all they're doing is they're transferring poison. And that's why we are seeing the declining rates in marriage and family, because we didn't get knowledge. We got infection, and we're left to deal with that sickness now. And I think that's what we're seeing in our communities.
Okay, so this is what I wanted to say, because the question was, how can we help young men? And I would say it's determined by how you choose your woman. Right, your seeds are going to be looking at what type of woman you chose, and how do you treat that woman that you chose. I give anecdotal, if you don't mind. So, as y'all know, I lost my wife a couple years ago, and then I entered into the dating market, right? And of course, my 4 kids have seen how I love their mom, right? And so then we was having this conversation about, like, I was getting ready to get back into the dating field and whatnot, and I said, like, what is it gonna feel like for you all to have a new mom? Like, what's that gonna be like? And they said, well, we trust you. Right? We trust the decision that you're gonna make of whoever that woman's gonna be, because you chose our mom, and we know how mom was, and you chose her. Right. So I'm saying, if you want your son to choose wisely, you want other dudes to choose wisely, then you should choose wisely so they can see what that looks like. And then also to connect with that, if you're not with their mother, then if you are dealing with their mother, you need to deal with them in a way that they say, okay, even though I see my mom is crazy, maybe I see how my dad operates with her, but at the same time, if she's not crazy, I can see why my dad chose her to be my mom. So I'll say it like that: choose wisely, and they'll choose the same.
Facts.
A lot of dudes out here they're not choosing that woman to be a mom. Just kind of happened.
And so that's the problem. That's what I'm saying.
Just kind of happened like that.
But it goes back again. We still circling back to want versus need, right? Listen, I don't necessarily agree with dudes who say, my practice of discipline is just not to contribute to the population, so I'm just gonna get a vasectomy, right? I respect that. Don't agree with that decision, but I do respect it, because at the end of the day, I'd rather that than a bunch of dudes running around pumping and dumping everything and continuing to contribute to this community of fatherless homes, fam. We got to be intentional. Hank, again, I will just say, just to answer your question, bro, I think you answered your question. We need men around that's pouring into these young boys. Sir Hell, I agree with you. I'm so glad you said that, because a lot of times we think the dope boys, the pimps, the players, the Macs, the hustlers, those are the ones that get the attention. When you talked about being successful at something, right? The dudes with the flashiness, we think those are the ones that got attention. When I moved back to Chicago in 2016, when I hit the block, when I hit my grandma block, right, and I was reconnecting with people on the block, because it's like 4 or 5 families from when I grew up that's still there. You know what, them shorties that I seen them, they adults now. Man, you know what they was telling me? Man, we used to watch y'all all the time. You turn, like, I got people to this day that'll be, yo, you turned me on to hip hop. And I ain't talking about like y'all know how I get down, man. I'm talking about like real lyricism. It's like these are the same cats that'll listen to like a Twister and then listen to Tribe Called Quest. and they could break down the lyrics and explain it to you. And I was just like, I never knew that we had that impact because again, my team, we was L7s. We didn't move like everybody else. We wasn't selling dope. We wasn't gang banging. We was just in our own world doing our own thing. And so I just think all of that is important. And that shorties, you're right. They do need to see you being successful at something. And then that way, when you speak, you have credibility built in with them. Because they definitely not listening if you an old head and you right. If you broke, busted, and disgusted, you don't even like your situation and you trying to tell me about mine, man, these shorties will tell you so quick. They don't care. It's EBK. Anybody could get it.
You know what else? You know what else is interesting though? Because you said something there. You talked about how there's a lot of dudes out here pumping and dumping, right? And those are the ones that get the eyes of the young kids. And I'm gonna explain why. How many times have we heard women tell us, hey, y'all need to get these men together? The ones that are out here pumping and dumping everybody, doing all these women dirty, and they tell us, like, why don't y'all hold them accountable? And I sat there and I thought about it, and I was like, how can I hold somebody accountable that you keep giving the draws to? Because have you ever tried to tell a dude that was getting a bunch of women that he's doing them dirty and he needs to slow down? What's the first thing you're gonna
sweetie, you trying to upset somebody. This is what I'm saying.
You're trying to break the internet right now.
You trying to break the internet.
You upset Trigger Mike because Trigger Mike was a slut monkey.
Nah, this is the logic. That's too much logic for them. This is what I've been preaching that for hella long, Sweeney. This is why, like, the F boys are winning. We can't tell them nothing. The prize was the woman. The prize used to be the woman. How am I supposed to tell someone who's getting the best women, getting the prize, the gift of sex, intimacy, everything for free?
Especially, hold on, wait, Trigger. Especially if I'm not even his competition, you ain't even giving me the draws to even say, "Hey, bro, look, bro, you need to stop because look what I'm doing."
Bro,
Like,
this is the problem.
Tell that guy to change.
The problem is that there's a vacuum of positive leadership. You know why? They don't see us. We don't interact with them. We get the bag and we move around. Yep. We get the bag, and as us black men who come from these neighborhoods, we literally don't engage with them. We don't offer mentorship to them. We're no different than Ivy League schools. Ivy League schools will take the highest grade kids that are already have a trajectory going up. What we'll do if a kid makes it to our level, quote unquote, then we'll mentor them. The kid that's on the block that would listen to us, they never come in contact with us. So what happens when we leave a vacuum of leadership? The fuck boys, the people who do illegal things, they fill that vacuum. All I had to aspire to was the folks coming up and down the block with the sounds, with the rims. They had the women, they had the money, they had the clout. Everybody wanted to be them. Nobody else gave me nothing to aspire to, so I did what they did until I learned different.
So I like to add to this as well. So I think we discard Pookies and Ray Rays too quickly. Like, those are people too. Those guys are people too. And
what else should we be doing with them, Sir Hale? Please.
No, let me finish. So, like, a lot of those guys are decent dudes who either didn't get training. Like, what would you do if you had opportunity, you had options, you could get any woman you want? A lot of us can criticize men for walking in shoes we'll never walk in. And I think it's very easy to be critical of Pookies and Ray Rays when you've never dealt with their temptation. So, somebody asked a question early, have we talked to guys like that? Absolutely have. And most of those dudes know that they wrong, know that they dogs, and want to stop it. But once you start down the path, it's like dudes who start down drug dealing or start down, it's hard to reverse that. And most guys, it takes them getting into jail or something terrible happening to them to give them a wake-up call. So I think that there are some dudes who are just straight up reckless, and we gotta address that. But a lot of dudes just lack direction, and they're doing what they've seen done before. All they're doing is repeating what they saw the person who mimicked, what a man is for them. They're just mimicking that. And I think that we can't let those men be off limits. Most men respect the dude who at least tell them the truth. Don't mean he gonna stop screwing. Don't mean he gonna stop doing what he doing. but they'll at least respect you for saying something to them. And I think that we got to include them into the conversation, especially if we're talking about communities. We got to have the balls to talk about men, or to talk to men who we see with deviant behavior, because a lot of those Jews just simply lack direction. Not everybody, but a lot of them.
I would still say that that's gonna still yield the same. That's gonna still yield the same result, because all he's gonna, like, regardless of how we try to slice it, a dude that ain't getting nobody can't tell a dude that's getting them all nothing. Because all he gonna say is, well, the I don't want to say, you know what I mean, but the chickens do. They like, why you sitting up there telling me what I'm doing wrong? Why they keep coming after me? Why ain't they checking for you? And that's the reality for a lot of men. Like, for a lot of, like, it's easy for us on this panel to say that because we're older and we at a place that, you know what I mean, we at a place where we probably, a lot of y'all are probably already in a position where you can get any woman that you want and all of that. It's very hard if you coming up to be that dude that's trying to, like, how many times we heard the stories of dudes who tried to tell they boy who was getting all the girls, like, hey bro, man, you need to chill, man, you doing old girl dirty. And he look at him like, yeah, probably, but you know, so what? She's still rocking with me. And he doesn't realize until old girl decides to leave him. And then he may go back to his homeboy and be like, hey man, she left me. He was like, hey, I told you was doing the dirty. But as long as the women subscribe to it, there is nothing we can say. As far as women, now when we talk about life and people, how we do life wrong, that's a totally different story, because life has a way, not women, life has a way of showing you that there's a place for you if you fuck up. Whereas women, that's not necessarily the case. Women would deal with a screw up any day of the week, whereas life ain't gonna deal with a screw up every, you know what I mean? They're gonna tell you, hey, look, we got a place for you. So it's easier to talk to them to get them out of trouble and steer them a different direction in that aspect. But when you talk about dealing with women, there ain't nothing you can say to a man like that.
Yeah, I think that the idea and the image of what we think about as the Pookie and Ray Ray has now since evolved. I mean, I hear now women talking about beware of the corporate Pookie and Ray Ray now.
Damn, what is that? These niggas
It's a bachelor. They've made all this new stuff.
So yeah, it's pretty much that. And that's been now the circulating.
They think every man.
The corporate Pookie and Ray Ray. What?
But Sean Antonio was 100% correct. So what I've noticed too, and we have to check ourselves as men and our arrogance. We have this, like, I think it's a black people thing. We have this utopian way of thinking that everybody's supposed to do well or come to our level or understand our teaching. Literally, this class system exists in every ethnic group in every country around the world. Some men just don't want to aspire to be more. And we actually got to realize that's okay, because it just makes me look flyer. It makes me look better. If I was still single or my wife decided to leave me, it would be the reason I get the baddest woman. You see what I'm saying? So because they don't want to aspire to do nothing. And that's fine. As long as you can take care of yourself and you're not messing up anybody else and leaving damage and destruction in your wake, then we should, leave them alone with that. But I also think that when we're talking about Pookie and Ray Ray and what we do for them, one thing I also want to say is that Sean Antonio said, we don't really associate with those men. Those men are actually scared of us. That's a different. I have been around these type of dudes, and when they're around men that are squared away, that are taking care of their family, that shit make them uncomfortable. Because it's one thing to be talking about wives and children and Jack and Jill and your kids' college fund, and they ain't got none of that. They on their third baby mama, like, oh shit, what do these niggas talk about? They look uncomfortable. They ready to go back to the hood and talk with, the people that make sense to them. So
if that's the case, then why do we talk about dick discipline? If a man is going to do what he does, then why are we wasting our breath talking about dick discipline? Protect your seed.
Dick discipline doesn't exist.
Well, let me say this though. So here's the thing, and I think this is some of what gets missed, but I think this is why I know Humble Dad ready to tuck in. You look sleepy. It must be the itis kicking in. What'd you eat today, Humble Dad?
That cotton patch.
No, for real. This is the thing, but this is why I enjoy these conversations, right? because the solution is like the problem is multi-layered, and it's going to require people to attack it from multiple angles. So I agree with you, Sir Hell. I don't discard the Pookies and Ray Rays, because one of the rally cries for me has been our warrior class is being eliminated, if not completely eradicated already, right? And I associate most of what our warrior class would have been. I just bear with me. I look at gang culture, right? And I really do equate that to who our warrior class would be. Some of the biggest dope dealers, man, that have never graduated high school or went to an Ivy League, man. Big Meech could have been, man. You know what I'm saying? So, man, the way he came up with, read his story, the stuff that he thought of, and the way that he came up with it. If you think about Freeway, Rick Ross, the real Freeway Rick Ross, the real one that they based Snowfall off of, right? So I'm an eternal optimist, right? I'm a you know, I invest in people. I want my community to thrive. So I get it. Everybody's not going to go along for the ride. It took me a long time to get there, right? But it doesn't mean that we stop trying to have those conversations and reach out to those cats, right? Even if they not going to come along. Now, I get the whole don't cast your pearls before swine, if you're looking from a biblical perspective, but it still doesn't absolve you of your duty to try and reach and teach, because Lord knows, if we didn't have some of the mentors in our hoods, if we didn't have some of the teachers, some of the male resources in our hood, our lives could have went real easy. So the guys that want to vibe with the talented 10th, man, y'all go ahead and get that together, man. Y'all do y'all thing. You white collar dudes, and then for the dudes that are blue collar, y'all want to get together and figure out how we need to maneuver. And then for those in below, like it's a multi-pronged issue, and it's going to require us attacking it from various ways. And to me, in my opinion, none of it's wrong, but we got to get the work done.
Rilla, let me ask you this question, and I've been wanting to ask you for a minute, and it ties into what you just finished saying. Looking at this entire conversation holistically and what is really happening out there, children being raised out of wedlock at a high number, right? And us not really creating a whole lot of community, but a lot of broken homes. And there's a missing element, and that's the masculine, a positive masculine figure, father figure, right? So what do you feel, all of you, what do you feel we need more of? Mentors or stepfathers? Do we need more mentors to return and be in certain spaces and certain, community settings, interacting with these kids, or do we need more stepfathers?
We need a plan, and we need that plan, and we need the components, we need the support system for that plan. We need the infrastructure of that plan to become institutionalized, because all the ignorant shit is institutionalized. All the negative things are institutionalized. If we have a mentoring program, if we have after school programs, it shouldn't matter if JR is there. It shouldn't matter if Rilla is there. It shouldn't matter if I'm there. The program should exist, and it should be a leadership development factory where these positive things are taught. In Chicago, we had a program which kind of still exists called Ceasefire. Ceasefire, you have to be a certain type of guy that had a certain type of street cred to get into that program. And your job as a violence interrupter was to interrupt violence, was to stop niggas from shooting other niggas in retaliation, right? We have to have reentry programs. We have to have these. We have to have a plan. We have to build the infrastructure. It has to be institutionalized. It has to be funded so that it's self-propagating. It's self-sustaining. We have to have a plan, and we have to build the infrastructure, and it has to bear results, period.
I'll say this. So we got to make it okay for men to be men again. I think that's the missing link. I think what we've done is we've politicized masculinity and the rawness of what men are. We've made it to be inherently evil. And so we've kind of scaled down. We've kind of dilute our masculinity to fit into a culture that doesn't appreciate what men offer until there's a need for his brute physicality to protect them in some way. So I think the solution is we got to make it okay for men to be men. the full range of male emotion, the full range of what men like to do. So we got to make that okay. The second thing is we got to make it okay for men to be men. And this means be a man in your own home. Be a man to your own family first. I think that we've created this culture where we believe that we got to save the world. We've got to have this big movement to start. You can start right in your own home by the way you treat your wife or your mother or your sisters or your daughters or your grandma. The way that you conduct yourself in your life. I know I grew up, there were certain janitors. He didn't have a microphone. He was quiet, didn't speak very much. After he was done cleaning schools, he would go cut grass. He didn't say very much. He wasn't very outspoken, but the way he conducted himself, everybody had respect for him because of the way he lived. So we got to make it okay for men to be men, and then men got to actually be those men. And I think once we start there, then this is where the mentorship naturally evolves. Most men who learn from something, we get joy out of imparting into other people who want to listen to us. If anybody got an old uncle or somebody, y'all know, you ask him a question, that's an hour-long conversation. And then after an hour, he realized that it's been an hour, he circles back to your original question. That's what we need. We need more men like that. And it needs to be on that grassroots level. Hey, look, hey, real talk. I'm like that with my kids now. I'm like, guys, this is a minimum 10-minute lecture. And it is a beautiful thing. This is what we need. And I will say, I do think that what we're doing now, like shout out to JR, conversations like this is where people's eyes are. So when we have these kind of conversations with this depth and with the rawness, people are watching this and we're changing the culture. This is reflected in the amount of fathers that we see in the homes, and the fact that even though, we're talking about men pick, what they want versus, what they need, we're not seeing as many teenage pregnancies. We're not seeing as many out of wedlock. So there's a lot of benefits to this. And I think it starts on a very grassroots level. And then we take this collectively, to Sean's point, and then we find a way to strategize and make it bigger and systematize it. So even if we can't be there, we've duplicated ourselves, and now we're seeing that positive change keep on going in our culture.
Yeah, I like that, Sir Hill. But I mean, one of the things I want to kind of go back on that Sean brought up that I think is very vital, he talked about the infrastructure. He talked about the neighborhoods. He talked about the community. He talked about sort of the resources or their lack of, right? I don't think that where most Black people congregate in terms of community centers, especially the ones who really, really need that attention to kind of blossom out of it, is not conducive for growth because of how those inner cities are set up, how they're structured, right? And I don't know if those are the right launching pad, right, to kind of start that vast movement. I think that could probably occur in a completely different geographic location, but you need a lot of buy-in, right? Because I think there's too much outside influence and too much outside power that shapes and molds and infiltrates these same communities in such a way that has led them down the path that they are.
I'm going to start a nonprofit called FTFF. We talk, a little bit circular about, everything that we could do to help the community. But if y'all watch my show, when people talk about the community, FTFF stands for Fix the Family First. All of these things that we're trying to accomplish is accomplished within family, because we're trying to do things as a definitive community. The way the dictionary defines community is a group of individuals. But I will challenge dictionary.com to say a community is actually a group of families. Families do this work. All right. So we don't need to talk about inner city schools, because if families work together, those would look a lot different. The children that were raised in the house with their father going to school would behave a lot different. You see what I'm saying? So that is systemically, like we're talking about, if we don't fix the family first, if we cannot get one Black man and one Black woman to stay in the same house, that man treat her correctly and that woman respect and submit to him, we don't need to have any other discussion. That is first and foremost.
1,000% correct. That's what I was going to go at, because Sean, listen, at the crib, we got what? Becoming a Man, right? We got, and this is all the programs about the name.
All these programs.
Dovetail Project, right? We got My Block, My Hood, My City. We have all these programs. This is what people don't know about Chicago. Like this is what I was telling Chaotic earlier. Like y'all see what's on the news. We hear boots on the ground. There are plenty of programs here, right? They don't work because it's a band-aid. And I don't disagree. This is something I've been banging my head against the wall with. And I come to the conclusion of what Trigger Mike is saying. We gotta restore the family, G. That's the only way. We can't legislate morality. You can't throw enough money in enough programs for what these boys are going through. And even when I show up and I can talk to them in a way, the interaction that I have for them for the time that I'm with them does not replace when they go home and they gotta
go home. They still gotta go home.
They got to deal with real life. Hey, sometimes Sweeney with their stomach touching their back still. So for me, right? I still contribute. I'm still, I'm making sure that when I'm offline, I'm really in the field. I'm really outside. But we gotta restore that family, man. We gotta make it cool for dads to be in the home. We gotta make it cool. Let me not say that. Let me not say it that way. Not cool for dads to be in the home. We gotta make it cool for men to build family. We gotta make it cool for men to build family. Because you know what's happening with these shorties? Sir Hell, I think he was giving us statistics around the birth rate is dropping and all this. You know why that's dropping? Because these shorties are saying F it. They don't care about family. They don't care about women.
They don't want their kids no more. They don't even care about.
They don't want kids no more. They just like, I'm a pump and dump and play my PlayStation and I'm gonna be good.
But there's a reason for that, Rilla. There's a reason for that, though. Like a lot of them, I'm just saying. So it's very multivariate. So it's like a lot of them have seen pain, and if you've seen pain, you don't want to bring any kids into this life of pain. So, but I think it's the core of what Sean said. Trigger Mike said. I'm gonna get the names wrong tonight, guys. Somebody said it, but it's really getting back to the place where we value family. So this is why I think that we have to structure this. But to Sean's point again, there has to be systems, and I'm going to tell you why. Too many of our Black fathers are dying, and those kids gonna need somebody. And this is why I promote health. If you guys follow me, part of the reason why I'm always talking about the gym and health is because it used to be when I came up, like I would see men pass away 65, 70, 71, 73. Today, our Black fathers are dying 38, 47, 52. See what I'm saying? So while we want to promote family, I need our Black men to stay alive to build those, right? So and so for kids who didn't have a father, like my father passed away, having some place that I know I can go to, and I'm gonna see a Rilla there who get my situation. And I might not be living in the same home, but I know that 3 days a week, I'm gonna get some great conversation. I'm gonna get some understanding. I'm gonna get some critique. I'm gonna get some criticism and love. This does something for me, and it makes me a better person, as opposed to me never having anything and I'm just left out to the wind because my daddy died. So you see what I'm saying? So we're gonna need family, but we gotta have systems in place for people who don't have that as well.
But
so
let's
transition after Sweeney.
Here's because he asked the question. He said, "Do we need more mentors or stepfathers?" And if you really truly think about it, back in the day, we were married at an 80% clip. Cheating didn't change though, right? There were a lot of men raising kids that didn't belong to them. A lot of men. Like I know people talk about, our grandfather took care of two families. No, he didn't. He took care of the family of the household he was in, and stepdaddy took care of them other kids over on the by the way. It used to be a time where stepfathers were respected because because we cared about the family more than anything. So, you know what I mean? If the first one didn't work out, our women would go and find another good man to work it out with him. So so to speak, Trigger Mike said, until you value family, stepfathers will never be valued. And then the street mentors will never be valued. Because what are the street mentors coming from? They're not coming from families. They coming from the same effed up situation you coming from. So that it starts there. I agree with Trigger. Like it starts with family first, and then the mentor and the stepfather will come right behind that, regardless of what this dude may have done to fuck up his family. There's gonna be several good men that will come behind that, and we will still and we will have a community that trusts that everything's gonna be good coming out of that. Right now, it ain't like that.
I did want to ask just one more follow-up question. Let me just get a couple people to chime in on it. But when it comes to choosing the woman that you want, in that Queen Talk conversation, it talked about cheating. By choosing, I think they said by choosing the woman that you want, no, the woman that you need, then you're gonna wind up eventually cheating because it's not the woman that you want. So I get a couple of people to just speak on that.
I definitely want to respond to that. I think that there's some truth to that, as far as like, if you pick the woman that you want. But I think that again, with this social media world that we live in, like we talked about earlier, like again, the woman you want is often relative to your surroundings. So you might have the woman that to you is the baddest woman that you've ever seen in your life. And y'all might go somewhere, y'all might go do something, leave your city or something like that. And then you might see yourself in the presence of women that you've never even seen the likes of before, that in comparison make your woman look less attractive. So it's like, I think that really, when you got somebody that has the qualities that you need, it allows you to supersede that, because now you're looking at it like, okay, well, it's not just about the look, because anybody can look better. Now it's about like, how does this person fit into my life? Is this person irreplaceable? You know what I'm saying? Like you can always find somebody that you want and desire more, that's more attractive. There's always going to be someone better, but there's not always going to be someone that fits into your life in a way that makes them irreplaceable.
I'll say this, and I'll be very quick with it. So I think we got to really talk about this. Getting married doesn't stop want, right? It doesn't stop want. Like throughout your life, you're going to want other stuff. It's about what you decide to do. So I don't think getting with a woman that you quote unquote, if you get it and you need her, you're going to go with the woman you want. No, it's a decision you make when you take a vow and you're determined to be faithful. That sexual propensity that doesn't go away. What overrides that is your decision to honor your wife and the values that you set.
I think it's packaged a little bit differently because I mean that there are men who find women, who they need at that particular moment of their life, right? They find that woman that they need at that particular moment of their life. And then once they built up and leveled up, you've seen those type of men leave those women. You know what I'm saying? That shit happens a lot. In sort of understanding the woman that you need at that moment and understanding the woman that you need for the long haul, the woman that you need to build life with and family with. You know what I'm saying? And I think that it kind of goes back like where that person is at there in their life, right? A lot of people are not really thinking with the woman that they want to have a longevity with. That's what I want. That's what's here right now. I haven't thought about anything else. Well, I'll figure it out. Right. But there's a woman that does come along in that does fall within this time frame that they need that person because she fills a void that is currently missing in his life. And then we conflate that for the one that they need for the long ride.
I think we value the thing that we need more than the thing that we want. The reason why is because if I need it, then I'm going to do as much as I can to keep it. Right. So if I need food, I'm gonna do what it takes to get food. If I need money, versus if I want money, I'm going to do different things in order to keep the money that I need. I mean, the budget happens, or we spend differently because we need that money. We can't spend all of it, But if it's the money that I wanted, then this is my opinion, that we seem to be a little bit more frivolous with it. So if we have a woman that we need, I would say that we'll be less likely to cheat on her. But a guy that's going to cheat is going to cheat. I don't think there is a something out there that says, "Oh, okay, well, because I need you, then I won't cheat. Because I want you, then I won't cheat." No, I think a cheater is a cheater, and that's just what it is.
I think the unspoken truth is that need is a moving target. Somebody just alluded to it, but need is a moving target. And let's just say my need may be, I need to have my family under one roof. I got this young lady pregnant. Now I need to make her an honest woman. Now I need to commit to us being in a family. The problem with that is you have to go to sleep at night. You have to lay next to that person. If that person refuses to do the things that it takes to 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 feed your sexual appetite, I don't care what anybody says. That can at some point be a gateway drug to supplemental vagina. It just can, because at some point we all have these physical needs. So what about the physical need? I needed this woman. We need to be in the same household, but now I want these physical needs to be met. And if we're honest with ourselves, you can get frustrated and you can start to look outward and you can start to, want to go on trips and you want to go on DR and you see what you can get to for 40 in DR. And before you know it, you and your homies got some memories. You know what I'm saying? So you can succumb to those wants as well on those lonely trips and on those lonely nights.
I would push back, but Sean, don't wants change more than needs?
Yeah, I was gonna say that
I,
both are moving in negative.
I want vagina every night of the week, Brody. Tell me y'all don't.
Oh, absolutely.
Right, but your wants are
I'm
what
not young
change.
like that no more.
Your needs are what pretty much are consistent.
Nope, I want vagina every night.
So,
So,
yeah,
So
you a
one could
something.
argue that's a need then, right? Couldn't one
That
argue
would
then that's a
definitely
need?
be a
If
need.
you want it every night, doesn't that make it a need?
That
no,
becomes a
no,
need.
it's not a new need, because I mean, not to talk vulgar, but you can, get some self-care as it relates to that. So it's not a need. If you need to release, you can, do it yourself. It's absolutely a want, though. It's a desire.
Right.
All right.
Um,
Go ahead. We're gonna finish off with Sweeney. Go ahead, get the last point in, and we move on.
all right. I would say to answer your question, we have to first understand that most people largely cheat for the same reasons. You know what I mean? Men and women are like same reasons across the board. Something that's not being, a lot of the times it's lack of intimacy, or it's something that they're missing within their relationship that may have changed or what have you. So I don't think it has any to the ladies' point. I don't agree with the ladies when they said, "Oh well, he wanted something, that he got what he wanted at this period of time, and then later on, because she wasn't what he needed, he started cheating on her." No, I think the natural progression of things is that whatever may have happened within their relationship, he cheated for. But I think that's normal across the board for any human being, because that's how we operate. So yeah, I don't think him cheating I don't think what he needs versus want has any bearing on what the reasons why he may have cheated, or if he cheated at all. And then on top of that, many men don't even have the options to cheat. Most of them are pretty much stuck with whatever they chose at the peak of their ability, or wherever they were at. That's what they got. And ain't no women checking for them anyway. So you know what I mean. And men, we are. And the thing is that I think a lot of men are comfortable as long as they don't have to go outside and work for it. You know what I mean? They're gonna sit here and stick right here with this woman. Be like, hey, look, shit, I ain't gotta go out there spend no money on no chick to work hard to get some more ass and none of that. My woman good enough. Cause it's hard. It really unless you that dude, it is really hard for you to just get ass on the whim just because. So most men ain't even got the options to go out there and cheat on a chick like that.
All right. We'll go ahead and transition. We got just tuned in. Welcome to King Talk. Make sure you hit the like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Get to these super chats real quick. B Love 499 says, do men only care about looks because of their own egos? The hotter the woman, the better the man looks. Just wondering if that's why. One Queen Lady E$5 says, can it be possible that a man cannot determine his needs and wants, which leads him to always wanting a woman to validate her need for him? Marcus Evans $5 says, what up, my brothers? We got Rilla in the building. Polly Wright $2 says, did the devaluing of sex change relationships? Did it? Embrace the Grace $5 also. Remember, PSA to all men: protect your money, your last name, your seed, your peace. Hashtag boy mo fun. Okay. Appreciate you, Embrace. Sugar curl. No, One Queen Lady E $2 says FTFF agree. Everything starts at home. Here's Sugar Curls right here. She says $10. Also, remember, as a nutrition coach, I see firsthand a serious need for our men to up their nutrition care. There's also a need for them to reduce stress, as it is 90% responsible for what we know as disease. Shout out to Sugar Curls. Y'all make sure y'all go ahead and support her. She got some products in Walmart. So go to walmart.com, put in Sugar Curls, and get some fat products. So make sure y'all go ahead and check that out. That being
One
said,
moment. Okay, I found this on the web for Alice here to town.
You got women in the background, JR.
Alexa, at it again.
Hey, JR, you ain't got your chicken check. He's speaking out of turn.
Yeah.
Hey, you better check Alexa back there, man. She can't be just interrupting the bride.
Hey, Siri, shut your mouth, man.
With that being said, hit the like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Shout out to the sponsor Teach Challenge. Moving on to our next topic of the night, which is, our relationships transactional? I do have a clip that is giving context to this question.
And relationships to be transactional.
Yes.
Like all of them.
Everything is transactional. Breathing is a transaction.
I just hate the word transaction. A transaction means I'm bartering to me. It means that I'm only coming to you because I need something from you. Using each other.
We're a social animal.
Okay.
We need each other to survive. Parents need their children to continue the bloodline, aka to not go extinct. So there's nothing wrong with needing, there's nothing wrong with using people incorrectly. That's how you break stuff. You use a hammer to hold open a door.
Right.
You break the hammer. You use it as a fork. You break your teeth. Fundamentally, if things are truly transactional from a very clear space, everybody benefits, because like, oh, you're valuable to me. How are you valuable to me? Because you have value, which means you're useful, which means you're to be used. You can't say that someone's valuable to you and say you don't believe in transactions. Saying this is valuable, I want this, I need this. That's a beautiful thing. I need you because you're so valuable is romantic.
I like that explanation.
Yeah.
All right. So, talking about transactional, a different point of view, different angle of it. Let's go ahead and dive into it. I'm gonna go to Trigger Mike first on that.
All right, bet. Yes, 100% correct. Relationships are transactional, and I think a lot of men have not been taught that. If you grew up listening to the 90s love songs, you think that you're supposed to serve a woman and that is your only purpose in life. That is not true. I encourage all men, as a men's advocate, to stop being noble fools, stop being noble idiots. Your provision, your protection, everything you provide as a man, your presence, everything that it affords a woman and your family is not free. It is always cost. It costs her respect, her submission. It is not free. Stop being a noble idiot. I think men have been taught so much, and then when you look at the fact that men actually successfully delete themselves at a greater rate, you can find reason for what I'm saying. When you feel used and someone has not given you anything back, it's because you were likely a noble fool. You thought that you were supposed to give out everything freely and accept nothing in return. That's something that we say. That's something that you hear some of these Instagram therapists talking about. It has never been true. A huge part of your self-respect as a man comes from your ability to command respect from others. You have to understand that every transaction with you has to include respect. And if you do it well, then comes the admiration and everything that comes with that. But the same way you want and wish to serve your family, to be useful as your father or the community told you to be, that is the transaction that you have. And that is the reasonable service you do to society in exchange for keeping a good name and reputation. That is what must be returned to you in whatever way, that society tends to do that. For a woman, it is her service, right? Her admiration, respect, love. And women even know this. They're just playing weird. Unfortunately, there are some women that can't have children. Every movie script I've ever read, every movie I've ever saw, when a woman cannot give a man children, she cries and said, I could not give him. Now, those are the words that she uses because she understands a part of the marital agreement is to further his legacy, his bloodline. So everybody understands to their core, naturally, that relationships are transactional. My mic is muted.
I go to Hink, and then I go to Chicago Gorilla. Hink, what are your thoughts about it? Our relationships transactional response to the video.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and then after hearing, I guess what the young man was saying, it seriously put a stamp on it for me. I always thought it was, but then I'm like, okay, maybe not. But then just hearing some what he's talking about, give me a different perspective. Yeah, I really think it is. So I think it's always been transactional for women. I guess men are late to the game, realizing that it is. So we was late to the party, acknowledge it. I think women always knew it was, and that's why they always had that they was able to use themselves and sell sex to us and different things like my man Sean said, go over to the DR and then put that $40 down, get 2 for 40. Ain't that what you said? Shot 2 for 40. So yeah, I believe it is transactional.
So I heard.
Oh, I know that's right.
All right, I'm gonna go to Rilla, then go to Sean. What are your thoughts about it? The relationship's transactional.
Man, Sean definitely from over there off like 111th, 114th and Greenwood or something. I mean, not Greenwood. What's that? Longwood. Pause, right?
Yep. 116th and half. 116th and half.
Shout out to Morgan Park. Yeah, man, it's transactional. Here's the problem, man. We have sullied in our westernized thinking of what relationships should be. We talk about it should be reciprocal, but that's what a transaction is. I give you something and then you render me something in return for what I give you. But most of the times we just concentrate on what I'm giving, right? And then when I don't get value for what I'm giving, then it becomes a lopsided transaction. And that's typically what we tend to focus on. But from the first time that I got into this space and people were talking about I never thought about marriage. I always understood marriage as covenant. I never considered marriage as a business. But when you think about marriage as a business, it's transactional, right? But even if you think about it as a covenant, I'm giving you something, you're rendering me something of value in return. So yeah, it's relationships are transactional. It's just when it becomes a lopsided transaction is what we tend to focus on.
Man, you hit the nail on the head, Rilla. My girl Vivian said, "You can use me, but you can't misuse me," and that gets to what's your value proposition? Whether we're talking about a business relationship or an intimate relationship or a friendship, you know what I'm saying? The best relationships to me are mutually beneficial. Whether it's a strategic partnership in business or it's just your value add. If there's no reason for Sir Hale to interact with me if I don't bring some type of value to him, on some level, whether, and just in general. So for a man, we say we want a woman to be his peace, be his inspiration, to be all these things. That means she adds some value. That means she has a value proposition, right? And so for a man to be the provider and protector, that means you have value. That means it's transactional in nature. For our kids, my daughter's about to be 17. Yeah, she wants things. I have to provide certain things for her. When she texts me and she asks for me to send money, you know what I'm saying? I have to do it because I'm her dad. And if I can't do that, then yeah, in some ways my value is diminished. So yeah, things are transactional, these relationships, and they should be. If a person isn't bringing you any value, then you probably shouldn't be dealing with them in any way.
All right. Sweeney, what are your thoughts about it, sir? Our relationship's transactional. Then I go to Sir Hill.
I'm going to say this. For us on this panel, and I'm sure a majority of men, we know that goes without saying. We absolutely understand that relationships are transactional. What I really want to talk about or address is why it rubbed her wrong to admit that. And what it really is that women have a hard time, like they know that relationships are transactional, right? But they have a hard time admitting it because a lot of women don't want to come off as 304s. Even with the words that they say, hey, in order for you to deal with me, you got to provide X, Y, Z. And they know in their minds that it's transactional. It rubs them the wrong way to even call it that. And that's the tripped out part of me. That's what I wanted to address. We all know that relationships are transactional, but I just thought it was funny and telling that it rubbed her the wrong way. Even though I'm sure she's made posts, I'm sure she's talked to men, and it's always been transactional. She just doesn't like to call it that because she realized that it may, in retrospect, make her look like a 304. But the reality is, you're not a 304 because you demand something for your time or your body or what have you. It's normal. It's perfectly normal. So why don't we just call it what it is, a transaction?
All right, go ahead, sir.
Really no perspective. So yes, relationships are a transaction. They should be. Most men set up for just depositing, and I think most women kind of accept that. So they take the gifts, the sex, the protection, the emotional availability, the friendship. But most women don't really. It's not really. It's supposed to be a transaction, but for most women, they don't do their side of the transacting. And I think that men have to see that. And once you see you're depositing, you're giving, you're there, she needs you to put up a TV. She needs you to be there. She needs your advice. She's calling you about her boyfriends when she knows you're interested in her. You got to cut that off. You got to stop depositing in women who are going to take the deposits you make to go create a transaction with somebody else she's going to complain to you about later. So relationships should be transactions, but men have to make it so. And if a woman is not equally, giving back to you, you got to stop depositing into her because she's selfish, and you're going to find yourself resentful, and you're going to find yourself wasting time on somebody you're never going to get a return off of. So to answer the question, yes.
Okay. All right, go ahead. Go ahead, sweetie.
I was just going to ask her here, how do you stop a man from depositing into a woman when that's his act of choice? I think a lot of men are completely okay with.
You asked me a question. You just wanted to, you just like black folks.
It was rhetorical. It was rhetorical. It was rhetorical. But yeah, it was more. This is more of a response to what you said. That it's crazy that we sit there and tell these men like, "Hey, look, you need to stop depositing to these women." Basically, the simps, right? We're talking to them for real. But a lot of these dudes like to be the simps because that's all they can get out of that woman anyway.
No, most men don't want to be simps.
A lot of them dudes like to be simps, bro. They like what they getting out of these women, which is a little bit of attention.
No simps. No man is a simp by choice. None. If he's doing that, that means he has a completely low self-estimation of himself. But no man wants to be a simp, right? So I think that part isn't true, right?
I didn't say that he wanted to be. I said he enjoys what he gets out of it.
But the other part for this is a lot of men do that because if you were raised with and I don't want to get into this too badly, but it's the way young boys are cultured, right? So if the young boy is with primarily women, his mother, or he has to be the good boy. He has to be the one to open up the doors and spend money and protect, and he has to be the man husband. As a child, he's cultured to give. He's a workhorse, and he hasn't seen anything different. So a lot of men fall into that behavior because that's all they've seen. And to Swinny's point, I'll give you this, is that he gets some validation. He feels like something the more he's depositing. Oh, he's such a good man. He's such a good guy. He's so nice. But that good guy, that nice, that kind leaves him alone, broke, and horny, right? So I think it takes some man helping him to break out of that cycle, because it's a very lonely and it's a very deeply lonely place to be in when you're always the one doing it. You really don't get anything in return.
You don't think that hope a lot of the times for these dudes keep them doing what they're doing? Because let me ask you that question first, and then you don't think hope keeps them going?
I think lack of exposure does. If you give, so JR, I got to tell a story, and I'm gonna probably get doxxed after I say this. So I was 16 years old, and y'all know when school got out, you boot up with somebody for the summer. Well, it just so happened I had nobody, and I was desperate. I was desperate. And there was this girl on Hickory Street. This girl, terrible. I mean, looked like a straight. She was terrible. Like, Like, you ever have somebody you dated that you don't want nobody to find out? You kind of don't want to tell Jesus. You don't want anybody to know about this. Well, that happened, right? And I was devastated when this girl, she was, and I don't mean to talk, and I really don't mean to down anybody, but Chicago Gorilla, if you saw this, you wouldn't respect me, bro. Like, you would block me on all social media sites if you saw this. But I was desperate, right? So, so what happened was, like, you know, she ended up talking to somebody else, and I'm sitting up there like, I'm crying over somebody. She terrible. Guess what got me over that?
You expect me to take you seriously.
I went over. I went over to Indiana. I found somebody else. Issue resolved. You see what I'm saying? Like, I just crossed Lincoln Highway, Indiana. I'm there, and I think that's what happens. Most men get so down because they limit themselves to that. Go across the train tracks.
Went to Munster, Indiana.
Come on,
Indiana,
man.
found him a white woman.
It's the Red Lobster over there, brother. You know what I'm saying? I crossed over. Issue resolved.
I was about to say, there's a lot of people crossing over in the hammock.
Bro, listen, Sir Hale, you wildin', G. I'm literally probably like 10 minutes away from Indiana right now.
You know, I went to school in Hammond, Indiana.
We used to go get gas. Gas used to be 10 cents less than Illinois.
Yeah.
No. Get that gas.
Gas is probably in Indiana. I go to Indiana. It's probably about 30 to 40 cents cheaper for me to go get it in Indiana. Yeah. Yeah, it's like $4.29 in the city, $4.50 or something. If I go to Indiana right now, it's like $3.89. Yeah. Where was the
woman from?
Hey, let me ask you this, Sweeney, real talk. Because I know in this space, like, people really do say that all the time, like, about men being simps. Do we really believe like most men are simps?
No, I think yes.
Yes.
Culture.
Yes.
Absolutely.
But I don't think it's as problematic to most men as we may think it is. I think a lot of men don't care about being in that category. A lot of men are happy simping for the women that they simp for.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we make it. We on this sin, we like, damn, man, we got to stop these niggas from simping and shit like that, because it does create a problem with the women in some way, shape, or form. But for the motherfuckers that's doing the simping, a lot of them are completely cool with it because they get what they get out of it.
Yeah. So most people are simps, but we have to look at it logically, right? Or even economically. The market sets the rate. Simping is the American way now. Women are the consumers. So you watch it from a marketing, American economy perspective, everything is marketed to women. So Sir Hale said it earlier. Masculinity has now been eradicated from society. It has been demonized. Therefore, if a man shows any type of masculinity, women behave a certain way. They don't like him. They cancel him. They're calling him insecure, little dick energy, etc. You see what I'm saying? So now you're like, well, I still want women and I want to get the desired effect. How do I achieve it? And then the society basically tells you all you got to do is tell her she's just all this stuff that just leads into you being a simp. And most men are just doing it simply to get that result. So
and you know what's crazy though? And then there's a lot of dudes that are faux simps. They're not even real simps. They're not even like they lying.
That was me in college. That was me in college.
Just faux simps. They're not even real simps.
You was a slut monkey in college, man. You was a full-blown slut monkey.
Bro, exactly. Well, HBCUs,
yeah, you was a slut monkey. Let's go ahead and admit that first.
HBCUs are simp indoctrination zones. I was raised to be one way. Okay, so that's who I'm going to end up being regardless. But you go into an HBCU, the Democrats got a strong, they paying the instructors to indoctrinate you. You holding up women's signs, breast cancer, everything is about women. They do not care about the men.
Hey,
on those
look, Trigger, we don't be believing half the shit that we say.
Exactly.
The crazy thing is that women used to ask all the time. Women ask all the time, why do men lie? Because it's easy. Why tell the truth when it's so much easier to lie?
Nah, it's not even.
No, hold on. We can't skip over two things real quick. Well, three things. Really, number one, the likes are down. So get these likes up, fam. It's been a minute since I've been back in the building. back at home. Tuesday is my favorite day of the week. So get these likes up, hit that like, smash the like button, subscribe, and share. Second thing, skip over the 2 phrases or words that have just been added to the lexicon. Sean Antonio says supplemental vagina. And then Trigger Mike said, what? Simp indoctrination zones? We can't skip over that, fam. Simp indoctrination zones.
They're giving out grants. They're giving out grants under
just for
that
distinction.
designation.
Just really quick, just for distinction though, we got, because the reason why I asked when we get to talking simping, because you know I'm more familiar with Madison and the activity over there on the west side with Pippin and Home, right? So I understand simping to be something completely different. I understand sucker activity, and so that's why I make the distinction. But I get it; it's tomato semantics. But go ahead, Trigger Trig. Tell us about the simp indoctrination.
I mean, no, if you listen to any kind of conservative media, they've been talking about it a lot. It's actually a targeted campaign by the left to just go on college campuses because that's where the women are. And if you'll notice, it's kind of natural. When we're young, we're a lot more liberal. You right? Look at the Black Lives Matter. I wasn't going to none of them damn protests. I was in my house. I knew what those young people were gonna do. I knew they were gonna smash some shit up. And I'm telling everybody, like, can you believe they was shooting up? Yeah, because as I grew up, I became more conservative and understood people's behavior better, right?
Hold on, Trigger. Hold on, wait. Before you say that, no, I don't think you became older. That's why you became more conservative. You started getting more stuff, and you became more conservative. The more stuff people acquire, the more conservative they get. Next thing you know, they moving to Texas and Indiana and Republican states. Talking about, hey, look.
Hey, I don't appreciate you calling me out subtly, Sweeney. I see what you did there.
Yep.
Next thing you sound like y'all gonna sound like the guy that was at our homeowners orientation talking about, yes, sir. What? Who do I call to get these young kids that be walking down the street from the high school to get them in line? I'm like, bro, you call the police. Shit, that's who you call. But he was on one that day. Who do you call to stop the people from shitting in your yard? I'm like, stop the dogs. You know what I mean? So like, and he sounded like one of them like vapid Republican. And you know what I mean? And I'm like, the more shit you tend to get, the more conservative you get.
Yeah. Sweeney gonna have his cowboy hat on soon. Cal Jones, go ahead and answer the question. Are relationships transactional?
Yeah, I would definitely say that I agree with those gentlemen on the idea that relationships are transactional. And I think that even the concept of simping, it goes right in line with Sweeney's question when he asked, why do you think that she had such an issue admitting that relationships are transactional? And I think that if you really look at what simping is what we used to call tricking, right? And what is a 304? 304 is a woman who turns tricks. And what she essentially does is she keeps you in the dark about the fact that the relationship is transactional so that she can take advantage of you and trick you. She can get a larger benefit from the transaction. So essentially, I think that's what a simp is. A simp is someone who doesn't realize that relationships are transactional, therefore is not in a position to negotiate. Having game is essentially just having good negotiating skills. You have the ability to sell yourself and get what you want out of the transaction, as opposed to just entering into the transaction without expecting anything in return. So I absolutely think that relationships are transactional. I think women have been aware of this their entire lives, which is why they say, like even Tupac was saying, we got our game from a woman. A lot of times you won't know that relationships are transactional unless you learn it from a woman, unless your mom tells you, unless you're observing women. But women from a young age very much learn, hey, to get something in return. They're asking a guy to hold their books. They're asking that little boy in class, let me get one of your lollipops. It's just that boys don't tend to learn that until later in life. And I actually think that that's kind of like the entire premise of the whole red pill manosphere, if you think about it. Like one of the questions that made this red pill manosphere thing go crazy in the past few years was the simple question, what do you bring to the table? Which is essentially men saying, hey, I realize at this point that this is transactional. So now that I'm sitting here at the table and we're both about to eat at this table, what are you bringing to this transaction? Because I'm realizing we're both sitting at this table, but all the food that's on it is what I brought. So, and this is supposed to be more like a potluck. You got to bring something, I got to bring something. So I feel like that's really the premise of the red pill. That's the premise of the manosphere. It's men coming to the realization that relationships are transactional, and now learning the skills to properly
Try to
bargain for what they
negotiate.
want.
Yeah.
Try to negotiate. Exactly.
Hey, Clout, you hit the nail on the head, bro. We can move on to the next topic off of that, bro. That you don't even need nothing else need to be said.
I still had to get to Hink and Luis. Hink, you went already, right? Did you go? Okay. Luis, you ain't go, right?
No, I haven't.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I know. I agree with a lot of what the gentleman has shared. Relationships are transactional. And I think that a lot of young men are not really hip to that. They don't really get taught that or brought that up at a very young age. And sort of one of the things that, having value and creating value, right? It gets you more access. It gets you around to more other people. People find you desirable in many different ways, right? Which also exposes you to other things and opens up other doors. But as far as relationships is concerned, men have to create their value. Men have to go out there, scrape, crawl, fight, garner and create their value. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's in trade, whether it's military, whether it's, creating their own business, you have to create your value and add value back to your community and society. Women, you must preserve your value. Take care of yourself, eat well, go to the gym. You know what I'm saying? So associate yourself around other, marriage-minded women who you would like to mirror and have the type of outcomes that they have, right? And sort of, we both understand the assignment. It's just that we tend to kind of like act like we don't. And women have understood this very well because think about it. To Sir Hale's point earlier, there's women out here who have a food guy, a move my furniture guy, a fix my light bulb guy, you know what I'm saying? Friday night dinner guy, and then right? These women have already a bunch of dudes in different positions, right? And none of them are getting any ass except maybe one, right? They put themselves in a position where they've cornered the market. And sort of going back to what Trigger Mike was saying, simping is the bloodline of the economy. If every man stopped simping tomorrow, restaurants were shut down, movie theaters will close. A lot of businesses will go out of business because dudes is not pulling out. They're not spending money. They're not tricking. Even if they got it, they're not going to entertain it. You know what I'm saying? I've even went so far to say that even if men stop liking and commenting on women's IG posts tomorrow and go months without giving no attention or validation, I promise you, the mental health crisis will go up through the roof faster than the stock market went down at the beginning of the pandemic.
You know what's crazy, Louis?
That's a fact.
I think it's already happening. How many clubs have we been seeing closing and opening and closing and opening because ain't nobody in there buying drinks no more? How many of these movie theaters that we done lost so many movie theaters because ain't nobody going to them no more. Restaurants been opening and closing, you know what I mean, left and right because ain't nobody going to them. I mean, shoot, we see the women. Well, yeah, we see the women right now complaining about how dudes just want to come to the crib and even the simps nowadays are like, hey, look, man, the most I'm gonna give you is a coffee date and some Netflix and chill.
Something that coffee date too. And I just want to land this last point too here.
All they doing is liking pictures on Instagram now. That's all the simps are doing. They ain't doing nothing else.
Yeah, but think about that. Would they even be an Instagram? Like, would Instagram even be as valuable as it is if it wasn't for the dudes on there simping and liking pics? Like, think of all the advertising dollars, all the attention that's generated simply by men's eyes being glued to those women.
Hey, let me say something. Let me just say this because I don't want
Luis land this plane. You gotta let Luis land this plane.
Yeah, I wanted to land this point. you know, we understand that once you remove the money from all the extracurricular activities that tend to go outside, you know, shoot, I don't even think this dude's even at the strip club anymore throwing dollars and stuff. Even strip clubs, I'm hearing, are starting to close down too. I mean, they started to open
They
up.
out there recycling dollars. They're
Yo.
picking them up off the floor and throwing them again.
You know what I'm saying? Once you start doing that, you remove the dollar, and then you also remove the most important currency today, and that is attention. Attention is a currency, gentlemen, and a lot of men don't understand that. Once you move your eyeballs to something else, that's where it goes. Oh, I dare anybody to open up a brand new, I'm gonna land on this and I'm gonna shut my mic. I dare anybody to open up a brand new Instagram account as a man, just randomly, and just like cars and just a bunch of guy stuff. I promise you, at some point, your timeline will be flooded with women, and you'll start getting a lot more, you know, IG thirst trap women. You know why? Because they're counting on you to go to those pages. They're counting on you to comment. They're counting on you to like. They're counting on you to interact. You know what I'm saying? And that also goes back to, you know, Big Clout Jones' point, you know, the advertising dollars, right? They understand that your eyeballs and the time that you spent there is currency. So spend it wisely.
You're right, Louis, because you know what I mean. On my page, all I like is a bunch of barber pics and stuff like that. And you go on that discovery page, and it's all ass.
All ass. That's all ass. I have nothing but architecture shit on my page.
Oh, really? Hey, look, JR, the only thing I was gonna say was I don't want nobody on the stage to incriminate themselves, because a lot of us are friends on Facebook. And when we go to, like, I don't like females photos, right? I'm a Christian man.
Oh, really?
I'm a married man. I'm a saint. Black men don't cheat.
Damn.
But I see some of you niggas when they say who liked what. I see y'all. I'm just gonna tell you. I see what you like.
Hey, I ain't gonna lie. I'm that guy.
Listen, man, that explore page.
I'm gonna tell you this.
I got all the big ass and big titties.
I'm gonna tell you this: the strip clubs that got so bad. Hey, Hank, the strip clubs done got so bad. Have y'all been seeing that they be bringing the dude out the back to throw the money? Like, it be a security. He done went back there, changed his clothes, and came back and threw the money that they had in the back already on the strip because they ain't making no money.
They disguise him as a successful struggling rapper, man, with the chains and the watches on, thinking that he's
like, bro, you was just working the dough, man. We just seen you, man.
That's getting bad. Sean, you at no boo? Sean, where you at, bro? Where you at? You on the rooftop?
I'm at Aloft down here in Dallas.
All right. Well, let me go to get these super chats in real quick. Chike Auto LLC 499 also member says, question, Kings on the panel, do we give our kids what they want or what they need? What y'all think, fellas?
I say it's a combination of both.
Yeah.
Both. We give them what they need on Christmases and birthdays, and we give them what they want on Christmases and birthdays, and give them what they need throughout the rest of the year.
Mm-hmm. All right, we got still low key 21 $5 says the woman in the clip is Mandy from Horrible Decisions podcast. She is an admitted escort. She was being absolutely disingenuous.
Okay.
She says all makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense now.
Yeah, no, I know who she is. I didn't know she was an admitted escort, though.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
So she was being disingenuous on. Yeah, okay. I'm like, because ain't no one here. You that damn confused.
Sean Antonio, you not slick. He had the Aloft in the lobby. So that means he got that's where he used to take all the joints. The scenery in there.
Look, he getting up walking. He about to walk around now. Look at him. He about to walk around.
Yeah,
look.
Boy, I know what you up to.
If that was something I just walked by, I would have liked that picture.
I know what you up to.
Yeah, it was a good conversation, man. If you guys haven't already hit that like button, also make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you guys follow everybody on the individual platforms. Trigger Mike, your show in the morning. What's your show about? Title?
Damn, I done drank this wine, man. My ass
I was
tired.
wondering
Hold on.
what you drinking some wine over there, man.
Lies and deception in relationships.
Okay. Nice deception. Good to see Rilla back. Make sure you guys follow Sir Hill. We got Sweeney. Make sure you guys check them out. Cloud Jones, Hink in the Basement, Shine Antonio, and Louise is an awesome designer. Now, shout out to Queen Talk, man. They got some things brewing up. Shout out to Kelly and them over there. Play this little snippet real quick. All right, there you go. There you have it, man. Queen Talk, be on the lookout for that. All right, fellas, anything else? Any final thoughts? Anything? Anybody want to say something else before we get up out of here?
Man, I was gonna ask Sean, man, does your sweatshirts, do they run big or do they run as is, as size as is?
They're as is. But if
Okay.
you need them to run big, I can make them run big.
Okay, I need that grown man size. I'm trying to get Jay out. Give me a grown man size Lapeef. I don't know when that's coming.
Yep, I got you.
Hey, Hank, what position you play?
I played outside linebacker.
Okay. Strong side or weak side?
Weak side.
So you was on the field 99.9% of the time.
Yeah, I was only 225. I want to be middle, but I could never get up to that 245 weight. Not maintain it anyway.
Okay. Sure.
And, hey, look, Sweeney. Now I can't get it off.
Hey, look. I was 170 for a long time. Jumped up to 230 real quick. I was like, God damn, boy, I need to hit the gym.
Yeah, that weight come on pretty quick, man. Well, you guys enjoy y'all evening, man. Another banging King Talk. If you just tuning in, you're late, catch it on replay. I want to thank you guys for your perspectives tonight. It's an awesome show. And if anybody else got anything else, we'll get up out of here.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, hell yeah. Oh, 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 hell yeah. Oh, hell yeah. Oh, 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 hell yeah.